Hello everyone, it's Mr. Hildery here, head teacher. Really looking forward to welcoming you all back into school from the 8th of March 2021. Can't wait to have you all back and have the academy full again. My presentation today is going to run through for you the process of returning to school, how it's going to work so that you've got all the information you need ahead of your return in the week beginning the 8th of March 2021. What we're going to run through during this presentation is the following. We're going to run through when you will be returning, because it will not all be at once. There'll be a sort of staggered return over that first week. We're going to run through what will happen on the first day back. We're going to run through coronavirus testing, which obviously is a big part of the return to school. There's been lots of information about that in the media, and I'll run through how that's going to work with you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about face coverings, because you will have seen, I think, in the news that the rules about face coverings have changed for the return to school on March the 8th. A little reminder about uniform and equipment, and then a very short update on some of the changes that have happened around the academy site since you were last here. Okay, so when will you be returning to the academy? Well, you can see here on this chart a list of when you'll be returning. Now, the reason why we need to bring you back at different times is because of the testing program. So we need to administer coronavirus tests, and until we've got that negative test, you can't return to lessons. So we need to make sure we can keep you all separate. And there's only so many people that we can test at the same time, so we need to bring you back in this staggered and phased way. So what you'll see here is different time slots when students can return to school, and what we're asking, please, is that you come into school during the time slot when you are allocated. So if, for example, you are a Year 7 student in Tudor, we need you to arrive at school between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday the 10th of March. If you are a Year 12 student and your surname begins with the letter B, then we need you to return to school on Tuesday the 9th of March between 12:20 and 1:20 p.m. So hopefully that's all clear to you. We are working at the moment on the transport solution. Obviously the buses will run as normal in the morning and in the afternoon, but we're hoping that we'll also be able to put on additional bus runs throughout the day, because we recognise that you need to come in at different times. We haven't been able to confirm that yet because we're working with the bus company, but as soon as we get information about that next week, we will let you know when and if the additional buses are running. So what will happen on your first day back? Well, what I need to be really clear about is if you have been in frontline during this lockdown, so if you've been coming into school and attending in the frontline provision, then you can come back on Monday, the 8th of March, first thing, and you can go straight to lessons, because you'll have seen all this information beforehand and you'll have had your coronavirus test while you've been in school. So you don't need to do anything else. You just go straight to registration and straight to your lessons as normal from first thing on Monday, the 8th of March, and you can carry on with your normal timetable and your normal lessons. For all other students who have not been attending school during this lockdown and have been learning remotely, when you arrive at school on your designated time slot, you go straight to the canopy area, which is in between the art room and the music block and the technology area, over by the staff car park. You go straight to the canopy. Staff will be there to greet you, get you organised, and then take you in small groups through to the test centre, which is in the academy hall. When you get to the test centre after you've taken your test, or if you're not taking a test, then you will go to the gym. So everybody goes to the gym either after their test or straight there if you're not taking a test. You'll go to the gym and there'll be a video assembly in the gym and a questionnaire for you to fill in as we welcome you back and wait for the results of your test. So the next slide is just a short video to kind of walk you through that process so you can sort of visualize how that's all going to work. Right everyone, it's Mr. Hildery here, and I'm just going to talk you through how the testing process works and how the testing centre is going to operate. So we start off here at the canopy. So this is where you need to come when you arrive at the school, and there'll be staff waiting here to
get you lined up and ready to go into the testing centre. Then we're going to walk all the way along round to the Academy Hall. See you there in a minute. Right, so here we are outside the Academy Hall, as you all recognise, I'm sure. We're going to go up towards the main doors just to go and register for our coronavirus test. So we'll be queuing here, queuing down this pathway here. You'll be socially distanced down this pathway here, the member of staff to supervise you just while you wait to go into the testing centre. And we're going to go in the testing centre here. So when we arrive, there's a little reception desk just here behind me. Member of staff will be waiting here, and this member of staff will give you several bits of information. They'll give you a barcode, and that's what identifies the test you're about to take as yours. And they'll also give you a new timetable so that you know where you're going during the rest of the time. Okay, we're going to go into the test centre now. So this is the reception desk that I was talking about. We go through the doors into the test centre here. You can see how the Academy Hall is laid out with testing booths, and you'll be directed to one of the testing booths. So you can see they're all named after Taylor Swift albums. So testing station 5 is Red, testing station 6 is Fearless, and so on and so forth. So we're going to go round to one of the testing stations now just to see what happens when you get there. So here we are at testing station number 2, Folklore, and we have our glamour assistant here, Miss Coombs, is going to help us with our testing station. So when you walk in, you will find a hand sanitizer, a mirror, and a swab packet. So you need to take the swab out of the packet, which Miss Coombs will demonstrate now. And it looks like that, and that is the swab that you're going to use. And as you can see on the instructions here, you need to swab the back of your throat, and then you need to do both sides of the back of your throat, and then the swab goes up your nose, and we'll show you a bit more about that in a second. There's a little mirror here so that you can use it to see the back of your throat if you need to, and just make sure what you're doing. Right, and once you've finished your swabbing, you then take the swab and you put it into a little test tube in the rack like that. Then you put your face mask back on and you can leave the test centre. The test operatives will then take this test tube and they'll process the test for you.
Okay, so that's the process of returning to school. Now, the testing process is a really important part of the return to school. It helps us to identify anybody who might be carrying the COVID-19 virus without realising it, without having any symptoms. And that will obviously prevent that person from spreading the virus to other people without realising it. That breaks up the transmission chains. It means that we won't have virus travelling around the academy, and it means that we can keep the school as safe as we possibly can. So the programme involves giving students 3 tests between 3 and 5 days apart, starting when you first return to school. Then that'll be repeated twice more during the first 2 weeks. And following that, you will then be issued with home test kits so that you can carry out tests twice a week at home and check that you are still all clear of COVID-19. So how does the test work and what is it like? Well, when you come into the test centre, as we showed you on the walkthrough video earlier, you will go to a testing station. You will take your face covering off when you get to the test station, and if you need to, blow your nose on a tissue. You then need to sanitise your hands, make sure there's no germs on your hands at all, and then when your hands are clean, you take the swab out of the packet like Miss Coombs showed you on the video. Then you can open your mouth wide and use that mirror that I showed you on the video to look to the back of your throat, and you put the swab right to the back of your throat, and you're looking for the tonsils at the back of your throat, and you need to rub the swab 4 times on the left hand side of your throat and then 4 times on the right hand side of your throat. It's quite an uncomfortable thing to do, and quite a lot of people kind of gag or make a little coughing motion. It's kind of involuntary. Don't worry about that. That's a really good sign, because it means if you're doing that, it means you're swabbing in the right place. It's not very comfortable, but it's really important that you get a good swab to make sure you're getting all of the the kind of juice off the back of your throat. So if there's any virus particles in there, the test can pick them up. You take the swab out of your throat after you've done that swab at the back of the throat without touching your teeth or gums. It's got to come out of your mouth really smoothly. Then you pop the same swab up your nostril and you swab it 4 or 5 times along the lining of your nostril, right up inside your nose, about 10 or 15 seconds. You take the swab out of your nose and then you put it carefully into the test tube. You step away, put your face covering back on, and you can leave the test centre and they'll process your test for you. You go through to the gym and you will wait, completing your questionnaire and watch the assembly while you wait for your result. Okay, so there are 3 possible results on the test: negative, void, and positive. Negative result, so far every single test we've done has had a negative result in the Academy Test Centre, so most of you will definitely get a negative result, I'm sure. You can go to lessons and all is well. However, if you've tested negative, please be aware you still need to follow all of the procedures. You can still catch COVID-19. You could still spread it if it's on your hands or you picked it up from somewhere else. And you might actually still have it. We know that the tests don't pick up all of the cases of COVID-19, and people who've got the virus can sometimes still test negative. So you must still follow all the procedures, keeping your hands clean, keeping your face covered, and wherever possible, observing social distancing, just to make sure that we don't get any transmission in school. Sometimes, very rarely, the test fails, it doesn't work, and that might be a problem with the actual test itself, or it may be that you didn't quite pick up enough saliva from the back of your throat, or as I call it, virus juice from inside your nose. If that's the case, you must come back and do the test again. It doesn't happen very often, but that's the void result. And if there is a positive result, if we find out that you are carrying COVID-19, then obviously we will ring your parents or your carers, ring your family. And then, as you would expect for a positive test, you will need to go home and self-isolate for 10 days. And it's back on to the remote education. Okay, as I said earlier, the policy on face coverings has changed, and that's because of these new variants of COVID that are more transmissible and because of the high incidence of COVID-19, which is still around in our communities and in our society. So on your return from March the 8th, you must wear a face covering as before on school transport, and you will do that pretty well. But the change is that at all times indoors, so from the minute you're going through a door into an indoor space, you must wear your face covering for the whole time that you're indoors, including in lessons. And the only exceptions for that are if you are outdoors, you don't need to wear it. If you are taking part in indoor PE or practical dance or drama, your teacher will give you permission in those situations to remove your face covering. And when you are eating or drinking at social time, if you are taking a drink of water in a lesson, at that point you can remove your face covering, but you must put it straight back on as soon as you have finished eating and drinking. We know that some people are exempt from wearing face coverings, and you will have a little card to show that you're exempt for medical reasons, and that is obviously perfectly understandable. Little reminder about uniform and equipment. We're expecting you to return to the academy in normal academy uniform. On the days that you've got PE or dance, you should still come to school in your PE kit. And because we've got all the windows and doors open for ventilation, you are still allowed to keep your academy hoodies on. That's the black PE hoodies with the house coloured panel, or the maroon clubs hoodies, or the grey Year 11 hoodies. Those are the only 3, please, that you're allowed as part of uniform, but you may keep those on in lessons because we recognise it's going to be a bit chilly with all the windows open. And a reminder that you need to bring your own equipment. You cannot share equipment with anybody else because that could also pass on any virus that you might be carrying. So make sure you've got all your own equipment ready. And there have been some changes around the academy as well. We've been very busy while you've been learning at home. So you will see when you return a new perimeter fence around the academy and security gates, and that's to make sure that everyone in the academy is kept safe. Really pleased with that. It's a good innovation. Lancaster House, that's the rooms for modern languages and Lancaster tutors. That will be open when you return on March the 8th. It looks absolutely beautiful, and you will need to look after that facility really carefully. And we're moving on now. So we have locked and knocked down rooms S8, S9 and L1. Those rooms are being demolished so they can be rebuilt in brand new style. So if you are returning to the academy and you have any languages lessons or humanities lessons, it's really important that you check the rooming on your timetable, because lots of the rooming will have changed as a result of us reopening Lancaster House and closing down those other rooms. You'll be given a new timetable when you return, but it's all in Insight now. You can check your rooming in Insight and see where your new roomings are. We're really looking forward to seeing you all again. We've missed you loads, and we're looking forward to welcoming you back. If you've got any questions about the reopening, please ask your tutor. You can ask them via email, you can ask them on the Google Meet or Zoom that you'll be having with them, or you can drop them a note in the Google Classroom in the usual way. And if your tutor can answer, they'll give you the answer, and if they can't answer it, they'll pass it on to me, and we will get the answers to you. Really looking forward to seeing you again. Can't wait to have you back, and yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.